What horrors lurk behind closed doors, hidden beneath the facade of a quiet cabin in the woods? On a fateful night in April 1981, the serene landscape of Keddie, California, transformed into a scene of unimaginable brutality. 4 lives were extinguished in a violent act that left a community reeling and a mystery that endures to this day. The Keddie Cabin murders stand as one of the most chilling unsolved cases in American true crime history. On the night of April 11, 1981, Glenna Susan Sharp, her children Tina and John's friend Dana Wingate were brutally murdered in Cabin 28 at Keddie Resort. The gruesome discovery made by Glenna's daughter Sheila on the morning of April 12th revealed a horrific tableau. 3 bodies bound and gagged, and a 4th victim, Tina, mysteriously missing. The case quickly garnered media attention and became a focal point for amateur sleuths and investigators alike. In this episode, join us as we attempt to piece together this haunting puzzle, a quest for justice that has eluded many for over 4 decades. What secrets lie buried in Keddie, and will they ever be revealed? But before we dive in, some of the details in this story are graphic and may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. As always, remember to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with the channel. All right, let's dive into the video. Nestled in the Sierra Nevada mountains, Keddie, California, was a seemingly idyllic retreat in 1981. The small resort town, characterized by its rustic charm and natural beauty, offered a serene escape for families seeking solace in nature. However, beneath this tranquil surface lay an unsettling atmosphere that would soon be marred by unimaginable horror. The Keddie Resort comprised quaint cabins surrounded by towering pines and the distant sound of a babbling creek, creating an almost picturesque setting. Yet, as dusk fell on April 11, 1981, the darkness would reveal a sinister reality, a brutal crime that would shatter the peace of this close-knit community forever. The victims of this horrific event were members of the Sharp family and their friend, Glenna Susan Sharp, also known as Sue. Born on March 29, 1945, Sue was a devoted mother who had recently divorced her husband and relocated her 5 children from Connecticut to California in search of a fresh start. Described as warm and nurturing, she quickly became a beloved figure among her neighbors at the resort. Tina Louise Sharp. Born on July 22, 1968, Tina was just 12 years old at the time of her disappearance. Full of life and curiosity, she was known for her playful spirit and close bond with her siblings. Tragically, Tina would become the most haunting aspect of this case, as she vanished from the scene that night. John Stephen Sharp, Sue's 15-year-old son John, was a typical teenager who enjoyed spending time with friends and participating in local activities. His bright future was cut short in an act of violence that left his family shattered. Dana Hall Wingate. Born on February 8, 1964, Dana was John's close friend and often spent time at the Sharp household. At just 17 years old, he was a vibrant young man with dreams ahead of him, dreams that would be extinguished that fateful night. The crime scene in Cabin 28 was one of the most gruesome ever encountered by law enforcement. When Sheila Sharp returned home from a sleepover on April 12th, she stumbled upon a nightmare that would stick with her for the rest of her life. Inside the modest 4-room cabin lay the bodies of her mother and brother, along with Dana Wingate. Sue had been bound and gagged with electrical cords and medical tape. Her body bore multiple stab wounds and signs of blunt force trauma from a hammer. The brutality was shocking. Blood splatter reached the ceiling, painting a horrific picture of violence. John's lifeless body was found nearby, similarly bound and showing signs of severe trauma. Dana had suffered multiple injuries as well, including strangulation. In stark contrast to this violence, Tina was nowhere to be found, her absence adding another layer of horror to an already chilling scene. The discovery of the bodies sent shockwaves through Keddie and beyond. Neighbors were horrified. Many had known Sue and her children personally. The media frenzy that followed painted Keddie as a place where safety could no longer be taken for granted. Local authorities were inundated with tips and leads as investigators struggled to piece together what had happened during those dark hours. As news spread about the brutal murders, fear took hold in Keddie. A place once thought to be peaceful now felt like a hunting ground for an unknown predator. The case became not just a local tragedy, but also captured national headlines across the country. Families locked their doors at night. Children were kept close to home as whispers of fear echoed through the town. On the morning of April 12, 1981, a chilling discovery awaited 14-year-old Sheila Sharp as she returned home from a sleepover at a friend's cabin. What should have been a typical Sunday morning quickly turned into a nightmare. As Sheila approached Cabin 28 at the Keddie Resort, an unsettling feeling washed over her. The door was slightly ajar, and an eerie silence enveloped the air. Pushing the door open, she stepped inside, only to be met with a scene that would haunt her for life. In the living room, she found her mother, Sue Sharp, lying on the floor, bound and gagged. Her brother John and his friend Dana Wingate were also lifeless nearby. The horror of that moment struck Sheila like a physical blow. She rushed back outside, screaming for help. Sheila's frantic cries echoed through the resort as she desperately sought assistance. Neighbors rushed to her side, horrified by the terror in her voice. The gruesome details began to unfold as authorities arrived on the scene. Sue had been brutally attacked. Her body bore multiple stab wounds, and she was partially covered with a yellow blanket. John and Dana were similarly bound and showed signs of extreme violence. The sheer brutality of the crime left investigators in shock, setting the stage for a complex and harrowing investigation. As investigators began piecing together the events leading up to that fateful night, chilling eyewitness accounts emerged. Several neighbors reported hearing muffled screams around 1:15 a.m. on April 12th. A couple living in nearby Cabin 16 was awakened by what they described as desperate cries for help, but could not pinpoint their source in the darkness. Others recounted seeing a green van parked outside Cabin 28 earlier that evening around 9 p.m., a detail that would later become crucial in identifying potential suspects. Among those who witnessed strange happenings that night was Justin Smart, a young friend of the Sharp family who had slept over at Cabin 28 during previous visits. Justin would later provide conflicting accounts of what he remembered from that night. Initially vague in his recollections, he claimed under hypnosis to have seen two men arguing with Sue before violence erupted. His inconsistent statements raised eyebrows among investigators and hinted at deeper layers of confusion surrounding the case. As the investigation progressed, attention quickly turned to two primary suspects, Martin Smart and John Bubady. Martin Smart lived just 2 cabins away from the Sharps and had a tumultuous relationship with Sue, who had reportedly intervened in his troubled marriage. His behavior during interviews raised suspicions. He claimed that a claw hammer had mysteriously gone missing from his home just before the murders, a detail that investigators found particularly troubling given the brutal nature of the attacks. John Bubady, an ex-convict who had been staying with Martin at the time, also came under scrutiny due to his criminal background and questionable alibi for the night of the murders. Both men were questioned extensively by law enforcement, but their denials only fueled speculation about their involvement. The community buzzed with rumors about possible motives, jealousy, revenge, or something even darker lurking beneath the surface. Despite initial leads and eyewitness accounts, investigators faced numerous challenges that would hinder their progress. One significant obstacle was the lack of physical evidence linking any suspects directly to Cabin 28. The crime scene had not been properly secured initially. Evidence was potentially contaminated by well-meaning neighbors who entered before authorities arrived. This mishandling raised questions about what crucial details might have been lost forever. Additionally, conflicting witness statements complicated matters further. The 3 younger boys, Rick and Greg Sharp, along with Justin Smart, who had slept through the attack, provided varying accounts of what they heard or saw that night. Their young minds struggled to piece together fragmented memories amidst trauma. Without clear motives or substantial evidence, investigators were left grappling with an unsolved case that seemed to grow colder by the day. Sheriff Doug Thomas noted how cases without apparent motives are often among the most challenging to solve, an observation that would prove painfully true in Keddie. As weeks turned into months without significant breakthroughs, Frustration mounted among law enforcement and community members alike. The Keddie Cabin murders became not just a local tragedy, but also a haunting reminder of how quickly safety can dissolve into chaos. At the center of the Keddie Cabin murders investigation was Martin Smart, a man whose violent tendencies and tumultuous personal life painted a troubling picture. Martin Smart lived just 2 cabins away from the Sharps in Cabin 26. Born into a troubled background, he had served in Vietnam and struggled with PTSD, which often manifested in aggressive behavior. His marriage to Marilyn was fraught with conflict. She had sought advice from Sue Sharp about leaving him due to his abusive nature. This connection between Martin and Sue would later become a focal point in the investigation. On the night of the murders, witnesses reported seeing a green van parked near Cabin 28, and Smart's erratic behavior raised suspicions among investigators. Following the discovery of the bodies, Martin claimed that a claw hammer had gone missing from his home just before the murders, an alarming detail given the brutality of the attacks. Investigators soon learned that Martin had been seen behaving oddly at a local bar the night before, further fueling speculation about his involvement. In a chilling twist, shortly after the murders, Martin sent a letter to his estranged wife that would haunt him for years. The letter read,
"I've paid the price of your love, and now that I've bought it with 4 people's lives, you tell me we are through."
This shocking admission was overlooked during initial investigations, but later came to light as critical evidence against him. In 2016, a counselor who had worked with Martin revealed that he had confessed to killing Sue and Tina Sharp, but claimed he had no involvement in the deaths of John and Dana. Despite this confession, law enforcement at the time dismissed it as hearsay, allowing Martin to evade justice until his death in 2000. Alongside Martin Smart was John Bubede, known as Bo, who also emerged as a primary suspect in this horrific case. Bo had a criminal history and was associated with organized crime in Chicago. He moved in with Martin shortly before the murders after both men met at a VA hospital where they were receiving treatment for their respective issues, Martin for PTSD and Bo for attempted suicide. Witnesses reported seeing Bo accompanying Martin on several occasions, raising questions about their potential involvement in the crime. Like Martin, Bo exhibited suspicious behavior leading up to and following the murders. His presence at the scene and connections to organized crime made him an individual of interest for investigators. However, despite extensive questioning, Bo maintained his innocence throughout. John Bubede died in 1988, without facing charges, leaving behind lingering questions about his role in this tragic event. The relationship between Martin and Bo suggested a possible conspiracy, one fueled by jealousy and rage over personal grievances involving Sue Sharp. While Martin Smart and John Bubede were the primary suspects, other individuals were also investigated during the course of this complex case. One notable figure was Justin Smart's father, whose erratic behavior raised eyebrows among investigators. Additionally, several locals reported seeing other suspicious individuals around Keddie during that time frame. However, none were conclusively linked to the crime. The investigation also explored connections to organized crime figures who may have had motives tied to local disputes or personal vendettas. Despite these leads, investigators struggled to find concrete evidence against any additional suspects. The lack of modern forensic techniques at the time hampered their ability to build a strong case. As time passed without significant breakthroughs, frustration grew among law enforcement and community members alike. The Keddie Cabin murders became not just a local tragedy, but also an enduring mystery that haunted those who sought justice for the victims. In summary, while Martin Smart and John Bubede remain central figures in this dark narrative, the shadows of suspicion extend far beyond them. The complexities of human relationships intertwined with violence created an atmosphere ripe for tragedy, a reminder that sometimes those closest to us can harbor dark secrets. The Keddie Cabin murders remain shrouded in mystery, with various theories attempting to explain the horrific motivations behind such a brutal act. One prevailing theory centers around jealousy and revenge. Martin Smart, who lived nearby, had a tumultuous relationship with Sue Sharp, who had been counseling his wife about leaving him due to his abusive behavior. This dynamic created a potential motive for Martin to lash out against Sue, possibly fueled by feelings of betrayal or anger. Some speculate that the murders were a twisted act of retribution against Sue for meddling in his marriage. Additionally, personal grievances may have played a significant role in this tragedy. John Bubede, Martin's friend and fellow suspect, had a criminal history that included violent offenses. His involvement could suggest a partnership in crime driven by shared animosity towards the Sharps. The nature of the attacks, extreme violence and binding of the victims, indicates a personal vendetta rather than a random act of violence. The brutality exhibited during the murders raises questions about whether this was a crime of passion or premeditated revenge. Moreover, the fact that Sheila's younger brothers were unharmed suggests that the attackers may have had specific targets in mind, further supporting theories rooted in personal motives rather than opportunistic violence. The fate of Tina Louise Sharp adds another layer of horror to this already chilling case. Tina was missing from the crime scene when authorities arrived, leading to speculation about her role during the attack. Some theories suggest that Tina may have witnessed the murders, making her an unintended target. If she had seen something incriminating, it is conceivable that her life was taken to silence her, a chilling possibility that has haunted investigators and family members alike. In 1984, 3 years after the murders, Tina's skeletal remains were discovered in a remote area of Plumas National Forest. The discovery raised further questions about her abduction and subsequent death. Was she taken by someone who intended to harm her? Or did she perish as a result of an accidental encounter with her mother's killers? The distance between Keddie and where her remains were found suggests that Tina's disappearance was not merely an afterthought, but part of a larger plan. Witnesses reported seeing a green van near Cabin 28 on the night of the murders, which could indicate that Tina was abducted by someone driving that vehicle. This speculation adds to the mystery surrounding her fate. Was she simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or did she know too much about what transpired inside her home? Another theory posits potential connections to organized crime figures operating in the area. John Bubede's criminal background raised eyebrows. He had ties to organized crime in Chicago and had been staying with Martin Smart at Keddie shortly before the murders. Some speculate that their criminal connections could have influenced their actions on that fateful night. Investigators have considered whether local disputes or debts might have led to this violent act. The idea that multiple individuals could have been involved complicates matters further. If organized crime was at play, it raises questions about whether other local figures were complicit or aware of what transpired. The possibility of a cover-up looms large. Some locals believe there may have been attempts to protect certain individuals from scrutiny. As time passed without significant breakthroughs, frustration mounted among law enforcement and community members alike. The Keddie Cabin murders became not just a local tragedy, but also an enduring mystery that haunted those who sought justice for the victims. Theories surrounding organized crime suggest deeper layers of corruption and complicity within the community, an unsettling thought for those still searching for answers. In recent years, the Keddie Cabin murders have gained renewed attention, largely fueled by the explosion of true crime media. Podcasts, documentaries, and online forums have reignited public interest in this chilling case, drawing in amateur sleuths and armchair detectives eager to uncover the truth. Shows like Unsolved Mysteries and various true crime podcasts have featured the Keddie murders, highlighting the enduring mystery and the emotional toll on the victims' families. This resurgence in interest has not only kept the case alive in public consciousness, but has also led to new discussions about potential suspects and motives. Social media platforms have played a crucial role in this revival, allowing people to share theories and insights. Online communities dedicated to true crime have emerged, where users dissect every detail of the case, from eyewitness accounts to forensic evidence. This collaborative effort has led to fresh perspectives and theories that may not have been considered during the original investigation. The power of digital storytelling has transformed how cold cases are approached, providing a platform for those seeking justice for the victims. Advancements in forensic science are revolutionizing how cold cases like the Keddie murders can be investigated. modern forensic techniques offer new hope for solving crimes that have long remained unsolved. Innovations such as DNA phenotyping, which allows investigators to predict physical traits from DNA samples, could provide valuable insights into potential suspects or victims. This technique can generate profiles based on genetic information, even if the DNA does not match any existing records in databases. Another significant advancement is the use of biosensors for forensic analysis. These analytical devices can measure bioaffinity-based reactions using bodily fluids, such as blood or sweat. By providing quick and reliable data about bodily fluid origins, biosensors can help narrow down investigations without waiting for lengthy DNA analysis results. Additionally, techniques like laser ablation, inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry, allow forensic scientists to analyze minute traces of evidence, such as glass fragments or gunshot residue. This method breaks down samples at an atomic level, providing crucial information that could link suspects to crime scenes. With these advancements, investigators now have tools at their disposal that were unimaginable during the original investigation. As interest in the Keddie Cabin murders continues to grow, law enforcement agencies are revisiting old leads and exploring new avenues for investigation. In recent years, local authorities have reopened the case file, combining evidence with modern forensic techniques that were not available at the time of the original investigation. The Plumas County Sheriff's Office has expressed commitment to solving this cold case and has encouraged anyone with information, no matter how small, to come forward. This renewed effort includes re-examining physical evidence collected from Cabin 28. With advancements in DNA analysis and other forensic technologies, what was once deemed inconclusive may now yield critical insights. Investigators are also reaching out to experts in forensic science to assist with cold case reviews. Moreover, community engagement remains vital in these ongoing efforts. Law enforcement has utilized social media platforms to solicit tips from the public and share updates on their progress. This open line of communication fosters a sense of shared responsibility among community members who feel invested in bringing closure to this tragic chapter. As more people become aware of the Keddie murders through true crime media and social platforms, it is hoped that new information will surface, information that could finally lead to justice for Sue Sharp, her children, and their friend Dana Wingate. In conclusion, while decades have passed since that horrific night in 1981, advancements in forensic science combined with renewed public interest offer a glimmer of hope for solving one of California's most haunting mysteries. The quest for answers continues as investigators work tirelessly to unravel a case that has left an indelible mark on a community still reeling from its impact. The unresolved nature of this case has left deep scars on those who loved the victims, as well as on the Keddie community itself. The fear and uncertainty that followed the murders created an atmosphere of distrust. A once peaceful place became synonymous with horror. The emotional toll is profound. Families torn apart by violence struggle to find closure in a world where answers remain elusive. Each year that passes without resolution serves as a reminder of lives cut short and dreams unfulfilled. The community continues to grapple with its collective trauma while honoring the memories of those lost. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, then check out these videos on the screen now. If you have a topic suggestion, please send it to the email in the description. And as always, remember to like, comment, share the video, and subscribe to our channel. And remember, the only thing scarier than this story is missing out on our next video.